Cool. So, welcome to the RPA Supporting Others and Mental Health First Aid Awareness as well webinar. We're talking with Tom Lindsay, Jake Woolmore and Ben Morris today. So Jake and Tom are both Bristol Bears rugby players, and Ben Morris is the head of employee relations at the AC Beechcroft as well, and has been really successfully and kindly been the leader and facilitator on our mental health first aid courses as well. So welcome, gents. How are we all?
Good, thank you.
Very well, thanks.
Yeah, not too bad. Good to see you all again, fellas.
So, yeah, how's lockdown? How have you been coping with lockdown? All good?
Just try and do as much as possible when I can and get out of the house as much as possible. Oh, sorry, as much as allowed. But no, I'm all good.
Jake, how about you?
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep as busy as possible, keeping myself fit and giving myself a few focuses, but I think I'm doing all right. I had a bit of a patch last week where I was getting a bit stir crazy, but I've got a few focuses again now.
Nice. Ben, how about yourself?
Yeah, not bad. Balancing the different parts of the role, looking after the little one, doing the job, trying to keep in touch with friends and family, but surviving.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, it's good to hear, lads. And anything to add from you? I know, I suppose we are involved in rugby. I was not playing, but the boys are playing, and I think sometimes we, with a little bit of a blink of view, just think, well, it's only affecting us, or it's affecting rugby, and we focus on that. But I know you obviously work in the corporate world as well. And how have you used, I suppose, your practice and your mental health training to support others during this time, especially with someone who works in the business world as well? How have you gone about your business the last couple of weeks?
I think some of this right here and now is we're building the hard times we're going through now. We're building our resilience for the future, and so you don't have to enjoy the going through it's like a tough session. Whether that's a tough session when you're doing a corporate deal, or a tough session on the pitch or in the gym. You don't have to enjoy that experience of going through it, but those are the bits that teach you something, that give you can reinforce or undermine if you're not careful, but can build your frame for future, build your foundation for future. So one of the things for me, particularly me personally, I've been trying to focus on something I do from time to time, and it lapses when things are going well, because that's what we do as humans. When it's going well, we don't question it. We don't reflect on that. I've been trying to get back into journaling. Just simple, three victories a day of an evening before I get my head down. What three things can I come up with? Three things, and some days that's a real struggle. That are a victory today. Sometimes it's easy. You can bang them off. This, that. New planter, nailed it in the back garden, squared away, love it. Other days it's a real struggle, and you go, actually, just getting up, making my bed, getting into that routine, getting downstairs, turning on the laptop. That was a victory today, because when I think about it, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to hide, pull the duvet over my head, and make it go away. So a little bit of that to keep reflecting, and if you've tried something and it hasn't worked, reflecting on that as well, because you've taken the brave step to try something different, and that if you note it, you're then able to reflect on it later, and go, okay, so what did we try? How did it work? What was the context? And if you tried something new and it has worked, you definitely want to be making a note of that, because again, that's building for future. And encouraging people seems really obvious, but to acknowledge that this is ropey right now. It's not exactly ideal. Been a little bit careful around I could be doing this, I should be doing this. We've been in lockdown 6 weeks. Some of us will have told ourselves, I'll have learned 2 new languages by now. At the start of lockdown, when said you're not going to be leaving the house for 6 weeks, bang, I'm getting straight on an app. I'll have at least 2 different languages in 6 weeks' time. Giving yourself a permission on that, to accept that it's not ideal, but not with the purpose of just rolling over and going, well, it's not me, it's the circumstances. But if I accept it's not ideal, then I've got a portion of my mind that has been wrestling with that. I can now repurpose on doing something, some small action from there.
That's great. I think you're right. I think we've given the boys a lot of information, and the clubs have given the lads a lot of information. There's lots of support with like video, virtual coffees and chats and lots of personal development opportunities. And I think if I look at my own practice, maybe the last couple of weeks, I think having to be able to reset myself. I think some of the information we need to remind ourselves of is the good practice we did at the start of lockdown, is just to go back and reevaluate those routines and getting up and going for a walk in the morning. For me personally, that's probably slipped a little bit the last couple of days or the last week or so. It was getting up at 6, going for a walk, allotted hour out, and it was like, okay, I'm going to do that and get that done, and then go into a routine. And yeah, for myself, I was going to be fluent in French by the end of this. It's not quite worked out. I know the boys will laugh at the moment. Probably hope I'm fluent in English by the end of it as well. My Bristolian accent. But yeah, it's one of those things where I think, linking back to the mental health first aid course for me, and then looking at my own practice as well, is probably not to beat myself up at and think badly if I haven't achieved everything I set out to do in the first week of lockdown. But then also going, right, okay, what worked for me in the first week of lockdown? I just need to reset and then go again as well. So I don't know about the boys as well. How have you guys supported your teammates? I know Bristol have been great, and you've been linked in to each other quite a lot. That's been absolutely fantastic. But how would you advise someone to support themselves, but also support others as well?
I think obviously as teammates we've been involved different meetings, different Zoom meetings, and all kind of bits and pieces, which has been fantastic to keep boys in contact. Outside of that, though, I think it's given us, or I think everyone really, it's given us a huge chance to understand what mindfulness is, because we all know that we're all going through the same thing at the moment. We're all going through this lockdown of a slight isolation or everything. And Ben talked about on that course, one of the most important things is you need to allow and make time for yourself at some point, to make sure that, as you talked about your journal, you're reflecting, you're thinking about what makes you happy, the things you've achieved during the day, and acknowledging those things. And Leek, you just spoke about it there. Having a routine helps you focus on what you need to do throughout the day. Obviously, Ben also talks about undermining yourself sometimes, and that routine can become, what's the word? It can become not great for you, if you know what I mean, because it can work the other way, because you suddenly become set in stone again. You're in another routine. But if you keep changing bits and pieces, if you can, Miss and I doing yoga every day. We've changed different rooms that we've worked in. We try and go on different walks. I know that's pretty difficult. We've done it 36 times. But like you said, Leek, you go on your walk in the morning. But these little bits and pieces, like we talk, Bully and I, we talk about those in rugby, the little 1%ers that make a difference. Just because they make a difference in the field doesn't mean they're not going to make a difference off the field. So catching up with someone different every week, going on a different walk, trying a different sport, I don't know, all kinds of things we can do. And that's what I've been doing. Using an opportunity to try and better yourself is probably a great idea. So when we do get out, you have taken something away from this.
Brilliant. Jake, anything from you to add?
Yeah, I think in my time in lockdown, I found that I've been in a little bit of both. I've had a company, the beginning of lockdown, I was like, all right, well, I need to fill my days. I need to get my training done. I need to get this done. And the next thing, I found I had all the time in the world, but all of a sudden I was getting up, and next thing it was 9 o'clock at night. And I was like, I've been busy all day. And I was like, well, I haven't even chilled out. And it felt like, so I think it took me like a week or so to be like, actually, I don't need to complete everything every day. Do you know what I mean? I actually then I sort of fried myself after a week or so and was like, actually, do you know what? Today is just me sat in front of Netflix. And that was me unwinding again. And then I think it started to find a bit. So I did that. And then I got to a small patch where even just completing my routine, my regular training that I was meant to be doing, I didn't want to do. I'd wake up and I'd go, oh, running again. But then that's when I gave myself a few other little focuses, such as today, making a planter out of decking bits. It just breaks things up. So actually I've got that focus in the day. So my running is actually something I'm going to do so I can get to a new task in a way. So it kept myself a little bit fresh. But I think, yeah, as you said, because I know lots of people that are, yeah, as you said, doing lots of different pieces and studying certain areas and stuff, which You know, I believe I've been quite proactive in some areas of there. I signed up to a couple of courses and stuff, but I'm not putting myself under too much pressure to make sure I'm not going, all right, 9 o'clock today, I need to do an hour, this and that. I just chip away at little bits and pieces as I can. And I sort of try and keep myself, as I said, with having that wave of, all right, well, I'm really focused today. And then the next day I'm a bit like, well, I don't really fancy this, but I'm trying to allow myself to have that leeway. You know what I mean? Like, as much as I've done a few, like I've done all my training, taken parts in, so a couple of courses, I have also smashed 2 or 3 series on Netflix where I've not moved off the sofa for 5 hours. Do you know what I mean? I think it's being able to go with your own mood, isn't it? Because I think, as I said, like living with my partner, we were about 4 weeks in, and all of a sudden she turned to me and goes, I feel like I've done nothing. I was like, well, what do you mean? She goes, well, I feel like I haven't achieved anything in this time off. Other people are doing this and that. And I was like, you have, you just may not have. Do you know what I mean? Maybe people need to appreciate you might not get this time again where you can actually sit and reflect and look after yourself in a way. And that might, as I said, that might not be doing signing up to courses, but she's been taking part of all the training I've been doing, something that she wouldn't normally do. So actually, she doesn't see that as a certain progression, but it's something different, something that's time for yourself and your health and your well-being, and something that she may not normally do, which actually might force a few habits to, when things do gradually go back to normal, she's got something else in her locker that she can focus on alongside work. So it's like a few things like that I find. I think, you know, I mean, like some people, as I say, I'm not very good at structuring in the fact of, well, I know Tom is quite good at being like, okay, I've got my laptop, I'm going to do work, but I procrastinate like anything. And I'll get my laptop out, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I think I'll make another coffee, and I float around. But I try and allow myself to do certain things and that. I bought a book this week, and I read last night. I was like, I'm going to read. I read 3 pages. I fell asleep, and I was like, all right, okay, I'll give it another go tomorrow. But do you know what I mean? I think it's just, we're all different, and this is such a strange time that we will have our ups and downs. So I think it's actually just allowing yourself to go with it a little bit as well. Do you know what I mean? We do want the structure because everybody actually craves it more than we realise. But it is just, you don't have to beat yourself up about it, as Ben said. So I think, you know, just rolling with the punches a little bit and go, all right, well, today I feel good, I'm going to do this, this, and this. But then you might go, all right, well, tomorrow I'm going to watch the whole of Afterlife 2. You know, on Netflix and not move all day. Do you know what I mean? And I think just trying to appreciate that we are all human and we're not all the same, but you know, just trying to just go with it a little bit, just try and enjoy it as much as we can.
Working from home, Ben, this is a question for you straight away. We sort of touched on that, and there's some really good tips for the boys as well. But I suppose as we work towards, you know, restriction around isolation and actually going back to, dare I say it, some sort of normality, what would you, is there any recommendations that you would give, or and obviously extend to the boys as well? How would you prepare for that, or how are you preparing for possibly going back to the normality, or any concerns around that?
Okay, going back to the real world.
Yeah.
I think firstly is it's going to be a long time before it's back to normal. If it's ever back to the normal that it was before. So I think getting my head around, it's going to be really strange going back to the office the first time. It's going to have been the longest I've been away from an office, and it's kind of akin to the experiences we've seen from people going on maternity leave or shared parental leave or adoption leave, going away from your environment and then coming back into it and going, is it still the same? Am I still the same? Is this still going to work the same as it was before? Slightly different in that we've been working from home, so there has been a kind of connection in there, but we're shaped by our context, and so you get kind of comfortable doing, and the guys may recognize some of that from moving clubs. You know, your core skills don't change, but you go into a new club, a new environment, you go, Christ, can I still catch a rugby ball? You go, and the logical part of your brain is going, don't be daft. Of course you still can. You can still remember all of this, but there's still that nagging doubt that, am I still going to be able to do what I could do before? Is it still going to be the same? So for me, it's wrapping my head around recognizing that it's going to be it's going to be different. It's going to feel different. But that will change just like the start of this stuff did. When it was all, it was briefly exciting, then it was terrifying, then it was dull, and then it was exciting again, and that sort of roller coaster we've been through in this, and thinking it's probably going to be that in reverse, and the worse I expect of that, the easier it'll be to deal with it, because I'll know, okay, if it's going to be that bad, what am I going to do? And then if it comes up, I've got something I can do. I've started to plant those seeds of, if that, then this. Chances are it won't be as bad as my imagination is going to tell me it's going to be anyway. So whatever I'm going to come across, I can probably deal with. Building some movement in now. If I've started to neglect that, getting used to trying to get up a bit more, move a bit more, because it's going to be hard spending, if I get the chance to spend all day out of the house. That's going to be a change, and I'm going to be physically shattered for the first couple of weeks as I get back into the swing of that. Partly because the emotional drain of being in a different environment, but just because it's all different again. And physically is going to be different. It's going to need to be, I'm going to need to be up and out of the bed earlier to get out of the house, to get into town. And then I'm not going to be able to stay up as late because I need to be up earlier the next day. So that maybe starting to shift that pattern now, because it was not going to be an overnight change. But starting to build that routine for the future. Like if you're going across lots of time zones, start to adjust and mirror the time zone you're going to be in the future. So when you get there, it's not quite so much of a shock to your body clock.
That's good, boys. You're both role models at Bristol. I suppose what could you do, or what would you advise someone? As I suppose going back to the supporting others. The topic of the webinar, I suppose, how would you support others doing that? Or if you have that answer, is that the magic? What good practice could you do to help support others going back to, again, we say that word normality, or back into an outside routine similar to what it was before lockdown?
So I've been thinking about this for a while, and obviously the demographics are very different. And for a child, the most similar thing you could probably see to that would be summer holiday. You've gone away from school, away from that environment for a substantial amount of time. Yes, albeit you could be you might go away on holiday, your folks or whatever, but you probably are going to be at home a lot more than you would have been when you were at school. And for us rugby players or sportsmen, sportswomen, athletes, it's like a pre-season. You've been given your 4 or your 5 weeks off. You've gone away from the environment. You're still in contact with certain people, albeit your closer friends rather than the wider squad or backroom staff, but you're not there anymore. So, and then of course, when it comes to just people working, normally the longest break you're probably going to get is at Christmas, or your leave that you take throughout the year. So as Ben talks about there, we as rugby players have started getting increases in training to make sure we've got double days, a double day influence. So we're training on a Monday and a Tuesday. So on Wednesdays we relax rather than being absolutely broken going into a Saturday. But for a civilian, say, I think it's making sure you're going to bed a bit earlier, getting up a bit early, getting ready for that week, maybe working in blocks, working for 2 hours, having a coffee break, trying to mimic what you can do that you have done, know you do when you get back to work. That's the only thing I can think. And Jake talked about that I think remembering the new things you've started doing, the new habits or the new bits of mindfulness you're doing, remember how good they made you feel or how much they changed the outlook of the day. Because going back to normality, they'll have a huge impact on how you function throughout the day, because you're still getting that mindfulness. Whereas if you just forget about it, you'll go back to reset or back to the status quo of how you used to function. That's why I say it's an opportunity to try and rethink how you are. This time has given so much opportunity for people to have self-reflection or as a couple or as a family, to see how they could do things more efficiently or more beneficial for themselves and for people around them. So I think that's probably what's going to be hard. Obviously, it's going to be a huge adjustment. I've got people that work in social care, and people I know, work in social care and the mental health, and they're expecting quite a big fallout after this. The NHS are expecting quite a number of patients at the moment. They're having a lot more influx from the mental health side of things, which I think was inevitable. That was the whole thing about the risk of going into isolation rather than staying out, of increasing numbers of the infected, to how many people are going to start suffering from mental health issues. I think that's going to be hugely important. And obviously frontline workers, when it comes to that, it's going to be important. But for us, the mental health first aiders, we're not frontline, but we're certainly going to be taking a tiny bit of that stress. You're going to notice people at work that weren't showing traits or anything like that, that have started doing so. You'll probably end up showing more little traits, because it's that kind of big brother thing, going from outside, being locked into another little process with different people and you haven't been there for a long time. It's going to be very hard to speak to 5 or 6 people at once when you've been used to speaking to one person 2 meters apart. So there are going to be a lot of challenges ahead, but I think remembering that we're all in this together, everyone will be challenged at some point, and remembering that we can still talk to people and there are definitely outlets to talk about. So I think it's just important as well to remember that mindfulness you've got and you've done, and take positivity from that.
Anything to add, or?
Well, as I say, between Ben and Tom, they've nailed a lot of it. But
yeah.
As I said, we're just trying to chip away at that little bit of routine again. It's like it doesn't matter whether it's been the rugby players I spoke to, or whether it's been people that are working from home in different avenues in finance or whatever, the people I know. There's one common trait, is a lot like the sleep patterns changed, or being at night, because you as you said, as Ben says, you're probably not moving about as much as you want, even if it's going to the shops, getting out, getting fuel out your car and things like that. You spend a lot more time sat down on that. And I think that's the biggest thing that I always find, like as you said, like the old school, like summer holidays, is actually all of a sudden, like, you need to just start chipping away at maybe getting your sleep pattern back in order and things like that. And then another thing I found is people that are working from home and stuff. I find a few friends of mine that can do more or less do their job from home. They're actually finding it more stressful, because they're struggling to break the two. So it's like, actually, he goes, I get up, I have my coffee, I'm sat at a laptop all day. And because they are at home and stuff, they actually don't give themselves the lunch breaks and things. And then, so they find that they've worked 8 hours, but then because they're at home and people know they're at home, they're getting phone calls and whatnot later than they normally would. And then they find that in the evening, they can't shake that thing. So, but people now are actually, some people are using that, like the friends I spoke to are using exercise now as a way of, okay, well, I can break up my day, my work day, or I can use this time, and that mindfulness and stuff that, again, people that are perhaps learning and using now to shake that weight of work or other things, or even it might be just 10 minutes away from your partner, as you said earlier, like the people that you're with all day, those things where people, I think moving in is trying to keep those habits of actually understanding how you can look after yourself a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? It's like sometimes even just like you appreciate even just things like I've been discussing, people just enjoying. I miss driving to training, because that's the 10 minutes I get in a day, that 20 minutes in a day when I'm on my own.
Yeah.
And it's funny things like, goes like, talking to one of the players, he goes, I miss just driving to training, picking a coffee up from across the drive-through, and just spending that time listening to my own music and having no one else there. And it's funny how it's the things like that you miss. And hopefully when we are out of it in that normality, we remember those little things that we can enjoy and maybe make time for them. Do you know what I mean? That we maybe didn't appreciate before. Do you know what I mean? Whether it be 10 minutes putting your headphones in, listening to your own music, or, do you know what I mean, reading a newspaper, or sitting in your car. Just that, like, I think people can try and think back, like, and instead of all the mindfulness skills and stuff, using that time when we do gradually get busier again to actually look after ourselves. Do you know what I mean?
No, I can definitely relate to that. I remember it's interesting you've all elaborated to that summer holiday we had as kids, or I remember having it as my former job as a teacher, and having after half terms were absolutely fine because you had a week off here and there and you called back in and stuff, but after a sustained long break you could have the best rest you possibly could, but that Sunday before the Monday before the start of term you'd be up like that until 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and you'd get in the first day, and even if you did sleep that night before, you'd get in the first day, and in the first hour you're thinking, I'm absolutely knackered here. It's I'm exhausted. So I think yeah, it's funny. I can remember those days like it was yesterday, like last year. I can remember that having that same feeling as well, just before you go back to normality, just feeling, that anxiety about, okay, what's going to happen, even though I've been in that building before, I've had that, I know what I'm doing, I know exactly what my timetable is, etc., but it's just that flood of being from rest to work again. I think sometimes that thing of preparing yourself for that and knowing that it's not going to be normal straight away. You're not going to feel normal straight away. It's okay not to feel normal at the moment. But just and maybe not giving, something I've learned from you three just chatting to you today is definitely not giving myself personally a hard time over not being multilingual and things like that for my own self. But definitely going forward, I think that those first few days back about that anxiety or that worry or that concern about going back to routines and stuff like that, it's one of those things that it's okay not to feel like it is at the moment, not to feel normal, if that makes sense. Brilliant. Boys, I'm just going to wrap it up there and say a massive thank you to all three of you for your insight, your knowledge, your time today. It's been absolutely fantastic. So I didn't know if anyone else got anything to add, but I just want to say a massive thank you to all three of you. It's been really helpful, and I'm hoping this will help others and support others with a little bit of insight today. Thank you very much, gents.
Cheers, lads.
No, thank you.
Thanks all.